So one of the pieces of automotive knowledge that is slowly headed towards extinction appears to be how to properly fill up the radiator on an old car, truck, or what have you that does not have a coolant overflow bottle. Now, most cars these days in the last, I don't know, 25 to 30 years have whatever you want to call it, expansion tank overflow. It's not really an overflow, it's just an expansion tank somewhere that is connected to the radiator by a hose, and it is one of its jobs, main job, is to keep the level full in the radiator, so it has marks on it that you fill it up to when it's cold, and then when it's hot, it's another mark. But all the time there's coolant traveling back and forth between that, and the reason being is that when coolant gets hot, it tends to expand, and so it has to go somewhere. So on a sealed system that's got an overflow, or maybe, I don't know if the word lossless would be appropriate to use on that, but either way, it goes somewhere to be retained and then be returned back to the radiator. So that's how that works, and you can fill those up all the way to the top on one of those newer systems. But on one of these, it has a hose on it that comes over, but the hose simply ends down here at the bottom of the radiator. See it sticking down there. And so what happens is any kind of overflow expansion event that happens, if the radiator is too full, it pushes it out on the ground. You see people have these old cars and they're sitting there and their coolant pukes out after they turn it off, and they're scratching their heads wondering why that's going on. What's happened? What's wrong with it? Why is it doing that? It's kind of embarrassing, you know. But I'm happy to say mine have never done that, and the reason I think that that's the case, for the most part, is that I know how to fill the radiator up properly. Now on these, instead of having an expansion tank or bottle or what have you, you have to leave airspace in the top of the radiator tank up here for the coolant to expand without having to be pushed out under pressure through this hose over here. So you have space here, so you, when it's cold, when the engine's cold, then you can just fill it up. Once you have the system, you know, you flushed whatever you've done there, but your goal is to have coolant just over the tops of the flues in there, the tubes or what have you. And this is made on these downflow radiators that have the tank up here. It's not so much a thing on the side tank radiators, but on these, this is how you do it. So you leave your airspace up here, so don't fill it up all the way, because you do, it's going to puke. It's going to puke. So something to remember when you're dealing with these old cars and trucks. That's a piece of trivia for you that seems like people just, you know, haven't dealt with them before. They just don't know that. So that's how you do it. Just fill it up just over the tubes. It'll cool just fine. It won't run hot. You know, considering that the rest of your system's in good shape, of course, but you just put the cap back on. If you do have problems with it puking coolant, even if you do that, then you may have something going on in the engine. So, all right, well, appreciate you watching. See you on the next one.